I'm Margot Politis. Welcome to Study English IELTS preparation. Today we're going to practice our pronunciation. We'll see how pronunciation can change when linking consonants, and then we'll practice pronouncing words beginning with H. Let's begin by taking a look at the story. It's about an area in Melbourne that used to be home to the growling grass frog.
It really would have been a fantastic biodiverse area. It's a situation where you've got the Yarra River outflow meeting the bay. So you've got the freshwater ecosystem and the marine ecosystem coming together at that point.
These growling grass frogs were here in their millions, hundreds of millions of them probably living in Melbourne, and they have disappeared very, very dramatically. Doing conservation with an animal that people recognise and where they've had a personal experience of an animal disappearing, they understand the reality of what's happening around them and they want to help. And we can get lots of people to come along to a habitat like this and say, I want growling grass frogs back here for my kids and my grandkids, because when I come down, I want to be able to find some tadpoles to show them.
Spoken English can be quite different from written English. When you listen to someone speaking English, their words will often flow together. This is because native speakers will connect unstressed words with stressed words. Where these links occur, sentences might sound different to what you'd expect. Have a look at this sentence. He's gone out to dinner. We stress he's, gone, out, and dinner. The to is unstressed. When we link out, which is stressed, and to, which is unstressed, the final t sound in out is held slightly longer. He's gone out to dinner. The t sound is pronounced only once. He's gone out to dinner. Now let's listen to Jerry from the Amphibian Research Centre talking about the grass frog's habitat.
We can get lots of people to come along to a habitat like this and say, I want growling grass frogs back here for my kids and my grandkids, because when I come down, I want to be able to find some tadpoles to show them.
Jerry says, I want to. The final t sound in want is held slightly longer on the tongue. Then to is pronounced. The t sound is pronounced only once. I want to. This type of linking is called consonant plus same consonant linking. Let's see what happens when a final consonant is linked with a consonant that's similar. Listen to how Jerry links the words around them.
Doing conservation with an animal that people recognise and where they've had a personal experience of an animal disappearing, they understand the reality of what's happening around them and they want to help.
Jerry says around them. The final d sound in around is similar in pronunciation to the first sound in the word them. This means the sounds are articulated very close to the same position in the mouth. When you articulate d, you can feel your tongue against your tooth ridge, like this, d. And when you say the, your tongue is between your top and bottom teeth, like this, the. When you are linking words with similar sounds, the final consonant and the first consonant will be pronounced very close to each other in the mouth. This is the case with the final d and initial the sound in around them. This type of linking is called consonant and similar consonant linking. You'll notice that around is stressed, but them is unstressed. Jerry also uses the words show them. Here, show is stressed and them is unstressed, so we say show them. This is vowel and consonant linking. In this example, Jerry clearly pronounces the th in them. Listen again.
We can get lots of people to come along to a habitat like this and say, I want growling grass frogs back here for my kids and my grandkids, because when I come down, I want to be able to find some tadpoles to show them.
In spoken English, changes also occur when a word begins with the sound H, H. Let's listen to Neil Blake. He's talking about an area they'd like to return native animals and plants to. You'll hear Neil say, would have been fantastic. Listen to his pronunciation of would have. You won't be able to see Neil as he's talking, but it's good practice for the IELTS listening test. See how you go.
It really would have been a fantastic biodiverse area. It's a situation where you've got the Yarra River outflow meeting the bay.
Neil says would've. When unstressed words begin with the letter H, the H sound is often dropped in connected speech. Here's another example. I think he's in a meeting. The word think is stressed in this sentence, and he's is unstressed. When these words are linked, the H is dropped. In spoken English, we would say, I think he's in a meeting. Some common words that begin with the H sound and are weak forms include the pronouns he, her, him, and his. There's also these auxiliary verbs, have, had, and has. These pronouns and auxiliary verbs have both strong and weak forms. When they are unstressed, the H sound is dropped. But when stressed, the H sound is pronounced. Now let's listen to Jerry. When he says they have, does he pronounce the H?
These growling grass frogs were here in their millions, hundreds of millions of them probably living in Melbourne, and they have disappeared very, very dramatically.
Because Jerry stressed the auxiliary verb have, the H sound is pronounced. He says, they have. So we've seen that when native speakers connect speech or link sounds in spoken English, changes occur. Being aware of these changes will help you in both the IELTS listening test and also in the speaking test. Let's practice the pronunciation we've talked about today. I'll show you a sentence and see if you can pronounce the highlighted words. Here's the first one. What did you send her? Send is the strong form and her is weak. Because her is not stressed, we drop the initial h sound. So it's pronounced sender. What did you send her? And finally, I told them not to be late. Told them. I told them not to be late. And that's all we have today. Let's review what we've learned about linking words. First, we talked about consonant and same consonant linking. The example we saw was want to. Then we looked at consonant and similar consonant linking, around them. And finally, we saw how the pronunciation of the initial h sound can change when we link words in spoken English. Don't forget to listen out for these changes when you talk with native speakers. And if you'd like some more pronunciation practice, you can find help on our Study English website. And I'll see you next time for more. Bye-bye. I'm Margot Politis. Welcome to Study English IELTS preparation. Today we're going to talk about adverbs. Adverbs are useful because they give us more information about an action, event, or situation. If I said they were very useful, that would be an example of using the adverb very to add to or modify the word useful. But first, let's listen to our story about a new training program to help fix the problem of there not being enough skilled workers in Australia.
For too long, we didn't train enough people. We didn't put enough energy into getting people into apprenticeships and traineeships. We just let market forces, laissez-faire approach dominate, and it didn't work. We've established a school apprenticeship link program, which this year will have 500 young West Australians, predominantly but not totally boys, providing them with apprenticeships, basically, that they can take up in the mining and other industries.
Fortunately, I don't think it has been left too late, so long as we very proactively tackle the situation now and don't delay any longer.
Okay, let's look more closely at adverbs. Adverbs work by modifying words. Adverbs modify verbs, adjectives, other adverbs, or preposition phrases. Using adverbs correctly will improve your communication skills. They answer such questions as how often, when, where, and why. Because they have different functions, it's useful to describe adverbs according to categories. Here are some of the categories that adverbs can be divided into. Adverbs of frequency: occasionally, usually, frequently, often. Adverbs of place: somewhere, here, outside. Adverbs of manner: quickly, carefully, suddenly. Adverbs of degree: really, fairly, very, rather, extremely. And finally, focusing adverbs: specifically, only, particularly. Did you notice that most of these adverbs end in the suffix ly? Many adverbs are formed by adding ly to an adjective. For example, frequent plus ly, frequently. Careful plus ly, carefully. Quick plus ly, quickly. Real plus ly, really. Let's listen to Alan Carpenter, a state government minister, talking about an apprenticeship program. He uses a number of ly adverbs. Can you identify the category they belong to?
We've established a school apprenticeship link program, which this year will have 500 young West Australians, predominantly but not totally boys, providing them with apprenticeships, basically, that they can take up in the mining and other industries.
Alan uses the adverbs predominantly and totally. These are degree expressions. They're adverbs of degree. Adverbs of degree can answer questions such as to what extent or to what degree. They also function as modifiers of adjectives and adverbs. Look at this sentence. They will provide 500 young people, predominantly but not totally boys, with apprenticeships. Predominantly but not totally. They answer the question, to what extent will the apprenticeships be offered to boys? Predominantly but not totally. Let's listen to Dave Smith, head of the National Skills Shortages Task Force, talking about recruitments. He also uses a number of adverbs. Can you identify their category?
Fortunately, I don't think it has been left too late, so long as we very proactively tackle the situation now and don't delay any longer.
He says, so long as we very proactively tackle the situation. Proactively is an adverb of manner, which expresses how something happens or how something is done. In the sentence, we must very proactively tackle the situation. Proactively modifies the verb tackle, saying how the situation should be tackled. Next to proactively, we have another adverb, very. We saw this category of adverb earlier. It is an adverb of degree. Some adverbs of degree, however, can be further divided into intensifiers and downtoners. Adverbs that are intensifiers make adjectives stronger, and downtoners make adjectives weaker. In the sentence, we must very proactively tackle the situation. The manner in which the situation is tackled is made stronger by adding the intensifier very. How proactively? Very proactively.
Fortunately, I don't think it has been left too late, so long as we very proactively tackle the situation now and don't delay any longer.
He also says, fortunately, I don't think it's been left too late. Fortunately is an adverb in another category. We call it an attitude marker. The adverb fortunately expresses a viewpoint on a situation and usually refers to the whole clause. Examples of other attitude markers include hopefully, surprisingly, apparently, and happily. Okay, now let's consider how many words and phrases used in English are borrowed from other languages. Some are pronounced as if they were English. For example, questionnaire and restaurant are from French, but pronounced in an English way. However, other words reflect the spelling and pronunciation of the original language, like détente and ballet. English borrows words easily. These words fill gaps in our language. Most of the vocabulary in English for ballet, for example, derives from French. Let's listen to Alan Carpenter talking. Can you identify the foreign word and the language from which it was borrowed?
We didn't put enough energy into getting people into apprenticeships and traineeships. We just let market forces, laissez-faire approach dominate, and it didn't work.
He uses the phrase laissez-faire. Laissez-faire is a borrowing from French. It closely reflects the pronunciation of the original language and the original spelling. Do you know the meaning of the phrase? Generally, it means non-interference or not getting involved, allowing things to act of their own accord. Here are some other French words that are commonly used in English. Au fait, faux pas, Grand Prix, encore, and entourage. And you can look them up in the dictionary. Okay, so today we've looked at adverbs and then talked about words borrowed from other languages into English. To find more on today's story and lots of other help and information, you can go to our website at abcasiapacific.com/studyenglish. I'll see you next time for more. Bye-bye. I'm Margot Politis. Welcome to Study English IELTS preparation. Today on Study English, we're going to give you some tips and strategies for answering Task 1 IELTS academic questions. We'll look at what's involved in planning an essay, and then we'll try planning answers to some practice questions. Task 1 of the IELTS academic module asks you to describe data. The keyword is describe. That means you don't need to comment on or interpret the data. Your task is only to describe the data. When you're writing a description, it's important to know what the context is and who your audience is. In Task 1, the audience is usually a university lecturer or a teacher, so we know that it should be formal. Let's review what we know about Task 1. The keyword is describe, and the context is formal. There's a range of things you might be asked to describe. Let's have a look at some examples. You might be asked to describe data. That could be in a bar graph, or column graph, a pie chart, or a line graph. Or it could be presented in the form of a table. You might have to describe some kind of process or cycle. You could also be shown a diagram of a machine or object and asked to describe the parts or the function. Now let's take a look at a practice question. Here's an example Task 1 question. This table gives participation rates in higher education in New South Wales for males and females according to home location in urban, rural or remote areas for the year 2004. We also have a graph. The graph shows the same information as the table. We can see that we have information about the number of men and women who go on to higher education or university in 3 different areas. Before we can describe this data, it's a good idea to think about how to organise our description. There are 2 options. It's up to you which one you choose, but let's look at each of them. With option 1, you could divide your essay up into an introductory paragraph and 2 body paragraphs. One paragraph would describe male participation rates in each of the 3 locations, while the other paragraph would describe female participation rates. So our essay would be structured like this. The first paragraph is the introductory paragraph. It should only have 2 sentences. Sentence 1 should paraphrase the question, and sentence 2 should outline your approach to the data. The second 2 paragraphs are body paragraphs 1 and 2. In the first, you might address female participation rates for each location: urban, rural, and remote. In body paragraph 2, you'd talk about male participation rates for each location: urban, rural, and remote. Or you could try option 2 and divide the essay up into 3 body paragraphs, 1 for each of the locations. The essay would be structured like this, with an introductory paragraph, as always, then 3 body paragraphs. Body paragraph 1 would discuss urban participation rates for males and females. Body paragraph 2 would discuss rural participation rates for males and females. And body paragraph 3 would be used to discuss remote participation rates for males and females. There's no clear answer as to which way is better. They are both correct. But remember that your essay needs to be at least 150 words. Now let's take a closer look at how to structure your essay. The first paragraph is always the introductory paragraph. There should be 2 sentences in your introductory paragraph. Sentence 1 aims to paraphrase the question by telling the reader what the topic is. It is important not to just copy the question. You can use the language of the question and build your own sentence. In sentence 2, outline how you will organise the data and therefore how you'll organise the essay. Let's try to write our introductory paragraph. It might look like this. The table presents data supplied by the Department of Education, Employment and Training on the participation rates in higher education for males and females in 2004. The data is for 3 locations: urban, rural and remote. So our first sentence tells us about the question. It includes information about where and when the data has come from. Our second sentence tells the reader that we have divided the data into 3 sections. There will be 3 body paragraphs, 1 each about the urban, rural and remote data. This is an introductory paragraph for option 2. The order of the paragraphs will follow the order given in our introduction. Urban, then rural, and then remote. So let's review and take an overall look at the essay we're creating. Let's say we've decided to go with option 1. Remember, that was an essay with 2 body paragraphs, one describing female participation rates for the 3 locations and one describing male participation rates. So let's start with our introductory paragraph. We might write, the table presents data supplied by the Department of Education, Employment and Training on the participation rates in higher education in 2004 from 3 locations: urban, rural and remote. The data is divided into 2 sets, female and male participation. Notice our second sentence tells the reader that the data will be presented according to female and male participation rates. So our first body paragraph will be about data for female participants. Here's the structure of body paragraph 1. It shows female participation rates in each of the 3 locations. Body paragraph 2 will describe male participation rates for each of the 3 areas. Now let's finish with another example. Here's our data. It's a table. You can see that it shows data for the number of international students studying intensive English courses in Australia. We have the number of students in 2002, 2003 and 2004 for 5 countries: China, Korea, Taiwan, Hong Kong and the Netherlands. So how could you structure this essay? One option is to have body paragraphs for each of the 3 years. Within those paragraphs, you'd have to describe data for the 5 countries. You might be able to think of some other structuring options as well. If you want to practice with some more examples, just go to our Study English website. It's at abcasiapacific.com/studyenglish. And that's all for today. I'll see you next time for more. Bye-bye. I'm Margot Politis. Welcome to Study English IELTS preparation. Today we're going to talk about letter writing. IELTS Task 1 in the General Training module asks you to write a letter. We write letters to friends, strangers, businesses, government departments and institutions. The tone of a letter can be formal or informal, depending on who is going to read it. There are several purposes for writing letters. Giving or requesting information. Giving instructions. Relating an event. Giving good or bad news. Complaining. Describing. Some letters can include several of these purposes at the same time. Here are some examples. Letters for giving information might include travel plans, arrival details, what to see and do on holidays. Letters requesting information might be for course information, library hours, timetable information. Some letters for giving instructions include how to get to your house, how to operate a machine, how to open an account, and relating an event, an incident or accident, a wedding or function, or a holiday. Giving good or bad news, cancelling an appointment, accepting a job offer, informing of the birth of a baby. Letters complaining might include poor service in a restaurant, loud noise in your district, a problem with faulty goods. And letters describing might be about lost property, a friend, or a place. Okay, that's an overview of different types of letter. Now let's consider the organisation of the letter. Letters have a clear and familiar structure. Formal letters begin with a greeting, dear, and end with a closing, yours sincerely. In between the top and the bottom is the body. But what sort of body? How do we decide about the shape of the letter between the greeting and the closing? Well, we write because we have a purpose. It is important to indicate at the beginning of a letter what its purpose is. Let's consider some examples. If your letter is for giving information, you might start with, I am writing to advise that. Or, for requesting information, I am writing to request information about. For giving instructions, I am writing to explain how to. Relating an event, I am writing to describe the accident I saw. Giving good or bad news, I am very happy to tell you that. Complaining, I am writing to complain about. Describing, I am writing to describe some lost property. It's easier for the reader of the letter if it's organised coherently. In Task 1, the way the IELTS general training question is laid out will help you in organising your response or answer. For example, look at the following question, a typical question for Task 1. You have to sit IELTS and you would like to do a preparation program to help you prepare for the test. Write a letter to the Course Information Officer at a college that offers IELTS preparation courses requesting information. How long the course is, how much the course costs, course prerequisites. You should write at least 150 words. The way the question is constructed tells you how to organise your letter. There are 3 bullet points: how long the course is, how much the course costs, and course prerequisites. This tells you that you should construct 3 body paragraphs, 1 for each bullet point. Thus, your letter should look something like this. First, a greeting. Dear Sir or Madam. Then, an introduction stating a purpose. I am writing because. Then the body. 1. How long the course is. 2. How much the course costs. 3. Course prerequisites. And then finally, the closing. Yours sincerely. So when writing your IELTS letter, it's a matter of being logical and organising your ideas. Let's look at another question and decide how to tackle it. You recently went to a conference in another city and stayed in a hotel. When you returned home, you discovered that you had left your briefcase in the hotel. Write a letter to the manager of the hotel explaining the problem. Explain where you left your briefcase. Describe the briefcase. Advise how to inform you and where to send it if found. You should write at least 150 words. If we follow the same strategy as last time, our letter organisation will look something like this. First, a greeting. Dear Sir or Madam. Then an introduction stating a purpose. I am writing because. Then the body. 1. Explain where you left your briefcase. 2. Describe the briefcase. 3. Advise how to inform you and where to send it if found. And then finish with the closing. Yours sincerely. The last thing to discuss about the letters you'll be writing is the level of formality. The 2 IELTS letters we looked at should be formal. There will be times when you will have to compose a less formal letter with different language choices. Here are some examples. More formal. I am writing to inquire about the cost of your IELTS preparation program. Less formal. I am writing to ask about the cost of your IELTS preparation program. More formal. This is due to the fact that teaching costs have increased. Less formal. This is because teaching costs have increased. More formal. If you require further information. Less formal. If you need more information. More formal. Please find enclosed. Less formal. Here are. More formal. We have been forced to increase fees. Less formal. We've had to increase fees. More formal. I regret to advise you. Less formal. I'm sorry to tell you. More formal. I will not be able to attend. Less formal. I cannot come. Well, you should now be able to practice letter writing. Remember, each letter you write will have a different purpose, and a clear purpose statement will convey your intent to the reader. Organise the letter into several short paragraphs and choose the tone carefully. Should it be more or less formal? To find more information and tips, don't forget to visit our website. It's abcasiapacific.com/study English. You'll find all the stories, transcripts, study notes, exercises and quizzes for the series. That's all for now. I hope to see you again for another episode of Study English. Bye-bye.